Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. We got an interesting little episode today, Tyson, coming off the first and second round of the NCAA tournament. I thought it was a fantastic tournament. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, but here's what everybody's talking about. NIL has ruined March Madness. They're either on the side of yes, that is what's happening, yes, that is what's happened, or no, that's not what's going on, no, that hasn't happened. Now, here's kind of the table setter, and then I'll throw it to you. So Sweet 16 has a seed total of 55. So the average seed going forward is going to be 3.44. Tyson, that's only one team who's worse than a 6 seed. 2007 is the chalkiest Sweet 16 ever, with no team worse than a 7 seed in the Sweet 16. The seed total was 51. The Final Four eventually ended up being 1-1, 2-2, and then two number one seeds squared off in the final. Seems like we could kind of get to that point. A lot of people had the 4 number ones in the Final Four. So that's what we're faced with right now. And people are trying to figure out why there wasn't a huge Cinderella. And is it NIL? Do you think yes or no?
No, I don't. Like, we can sit here and we'll make points the other way, sure. But like, if San Diego makes more shots, or if Colorado State doesn't allow this, then we're not even having this conversation. There's a 12 in the Sweet 16, and everybody's pumped. None of these, the Akron that we liked, or some of these other teams, they didn't make shots in the first round. The only double-digit seed to make shots was Colorado State, and they won. Like, they were the only one. I think it was 31% over 3-point. So, like, sure, this was chalky, but Brad, the other part of that is we've been saying it all year. Everyone's been saying it all year. This is the top 10 or 12 teams. Like we said before the tournament, you can draw the line at St. John's, and everybody on up can win the national championship. It's a really top heavy year, and so like, is it the NIL? Maybe, but I don't know if we're going to find out that until next year, because we just had 700 more kids enter the portal today. That's reportedly D1. Now, how many of those are going to end up, as the final piece for North Carolina or Duke? 0. None of them. Of these 700 kids, they're going to end up catching play time. You're going to have the leading point scorer of a team from TCU that's going to fit in at Florida Atlantic as the final piece there, and that's what we're going to get. So, is the traditional Cinderella over? Probably. Like, we're not going to get these teams that go 24 years old, 22 years old across the lineup, because those guys are going to get poached. But if these teams made shots in the first 2 days, then we're having a completely different conversation right now.
No, I agree. So has NIL ruined the March Madness? Because people are like, oh, this was so boring, and there's just no Cinderellas. I think this is fantastic. I am excited for the Sweet 16, Tyson. I mean, we're going to do a preview here that's going to come out later. We just wanted to get an episode out on this. We got Auburn facing off against Michigan in what could just be a physical battle. 2 big teams going at it. Ole Miss, who everybody thought was going to get eliminated early, right? UNC's hot. Oh, my God, look at they just put boots to ass really the entire time. And they face a Michigan State team, Tyson. I think that could be a fun matchup there. Florida, Maryland, I mean, that's going to be a banger. Texas Tech, Arkansas, that's going to be physical. Duke, Arizona, you got some blue bloods. BYU, Bama's going to get up and down the court. Houston, Purdue. That one could get a little out of hand, my prediction. And then Kentucky, Tennessee. These matchups are insane. Like, what are we talking about? You want to see, like, Fairleigh Dickinson going up against Houston and get run off the court by 30? No, this is what I want. It's not ruining March Madness. It's making it better. Not even know if it's NIL. I am into this tournament. This is what I want.
And I think people are misunderstanding. Oh, there's only 4 conferences left in the NCAA basketball tournament. Well, there's really 3, and then there's Duke as a superpower. But, Brad, that's where all the schools are. Like, if you add Arizona, and now we got the Pac-12 in there, and then all of a sudden we have 5 conferences represented, and it's a down year for some Cinderellas, but nobody's freaking out. When you have 20 teams in all of these conferences, it's going to happen. The SEC got made fun of a lot by some ACC guys. One of them maybe on this podcast, a little overrated, but like, they have 7 teams in the Sweet 16. All year long, all we heard is this is a historic conference. Well, they just proved it. They took up half the spots.
So I think there's 2 other things too here, right? And like, so people are talking, is NIL the reason why March Madness looks this way, Tyson? And so
portal.
I'll kind of go through this quickly, and we'll kind of go into is ruined. I think we both are saying no. I'm excited. And we'll kind of dive into a little bit more. But officially, NIL was allowed July 1st, 2021. So that's in the summer. It's going into the fall year in the 2022 tournament. Now, we're not going to see too much of NIL stuff, right? People are still figuring it out. The Wild West, like, we don't really know the structure here. But I'll go back to the 2022, just get a baseline. In the Sweet 16, you had a number 1 versus a 4, a 3 versus a 2, an 8 versus a 4, a 3 versus a 15. That was St. Peter's. Arizona's the number 1 against Houston, the 5, then an 11 against a 2, a 1 against a 4. Then the craziness of Iowa State, the 11 versus Miami, the 10. Going into the Final Four, then it was number 2 Duke against North Carolina, number 8, number 2 Villanova, Kansas 1. Ended up being Kansas taking on North Carolina in the championship game. Okay. Interesting. So that's first year in 2023. I think we can get a little bit better idea about how NIL can impact, what it does to the mid-majors. We're about a year in. Sweet 16, 1 versus a 5, 6 versus a 15. That was that Princeton team who went on a nice run. Number 9 FAU against Tennessee, the 4, the 3 Kansas State against 7 Michigan State. Number 1 Houston against a 5, a 3 versus a 2, an 8 versus a 4, a 3 versus a 2. How'd the Final Four end up? You get a 5 versus a 4, a 5 versus a 9. Whoa. Then in the championship, you get a 5 versus a 4. That was San Diego State versus UConn. Wait a minute. What? But that's NIL we're talking about. What's going on here? Well, the NIL's involved. Okay. Well, let's look about last year. Okay. All right. A little bit more of a sample size, a couple more years. So how's the Sweet 16 look? UConn is the 1 versus a 5, a 3 versus a 2, a 1 versus a 4, a 6 versus a 2, a 1 versus a 4, an 11 versus a 2. A 1 versus a 5, a 3 versus a 2. Final Four ended up being a 1 versus a 4. That NC State number 11 seed making a run against number 1 Purdue. Then 1 versus number 1. Tyson, what do we say every single year about March Madness? It's just random. Like NIL does. In sample size, we got to see the long haul, so I don't want to overreact to this. But like every single NCAA tournament, when it's a single elimination thing, when you don't see these teams and you got to prepare and it's college kids, it's a luck of the draw and it's randomness. And I think drawing conclusions after 3 years, basically 2 years, this being the third, of NIL being impacted or influenced in college basketball, you can't just say, well, the tournament's over because NIL. Like, what are we doing here?
I know. Well, part of it, I mean, like it's tough to think about those Florida Atlantic teams, and they got 3 guys on 3 different teams now in the Sweet 16, or Janai Broome shouldn't be on Auburn, or all this stuff. This is what you want as a viewer. You mentioned it off the top. The Doug Eater stuff, like that was awesome with St. Peter's, and it was super fun. But we all knew it was coming to an end eventually. If you can if Arkansas had DJ Burns, everyone in the country right now would be so excited about the fact that they're in the Sweet 16. It's just that John Calipari's the coach, and it's just like, we're really going to do this with they got more NBA players than half the teams left in the Sweet 16. So we don't have a true Cinderella, and that is pissing people off because we filled out our brackets in a way that made it seem like it. The favorites were the favorites for a reason this year. Like there was a separation in college basketball, and I don't think that's going to continue to widen. Like these top teams are old too, man. Like there's some that have a ton of youthful. I mean, you can look at Duke as an example, but how many times has Houston been around the block? Like, are we going to blame the NIL for like the fact that Kelvin Sampson built a juggernaut?
Well, Tyson, I think that point of these teams are being old. How about the COVID year? Like that extra year of eligibility? I mean, I think that's, age, if anything.
They're our age.
I know. And then people are talking about, well, these guys are transferring. Well, yeah, because you played 4 years at the mid-major, and all of a sudden you get a free 5th year, and you're like, yeah, I'll go play for Duke, and I'll get a scholarship for a year. I'll go to, Arkansas or whatever and go play another year. What are we talking about? So is it NIL? Yeah. Is there more movement going around than ever? Are people getting paid money? Is that going to impact negatively certain programs? Probably. But Tyson, I'm old enough to remember when this first started, and we're talking about this in football stuff. We're like, well, actually, no, this is going to be beneficial to the small schools because now these top schools can't just hoard all these players. Actually, you just pay for a good guy, and that'll help these teams. So how have we done a 180? Because of a randomness in the tournament, and we're at the Sweet 16, people are upset because there's no Cinderellas. We have to talk about stuff. I'm talking about we as a collective media, not this show, because we like to be honest with our audience and bring it from a perspective of reality. We are going to have incredible basketball games in the Sweet 16 going forward. If that's quote unquote ruining March Madness, then we have lost what basketball and what these tournaments are about. These games are going to be awesome.
Is there a tournament in sports that coaching matters more in than this one?
Oh, man. I mean, maybe you could point to the Super Bowl, like the NFL playoffs, maybe.
Right,
but
maybe. But that's the other part of this with the no Cinderellas. Drake wins a cup. Drake wins games last year. They get poached, right? BYU wins games last year. They get poached. Drake wins games this year. They get poached, and BYU will be fine. But when these Dusty May at FAU, right? He shows up and then he wins the Big Ten championship. these guys also move, and we don't care when they go to get more stability in their job, more funding, all of this stuff. But they're part of those lower seeds of those teams that make runs, and like that matters a ton. We just can't identify who that's going to be a year out or 2 years out, or otherwise these big programs will be picking them off. So the whole point is you have to kind of come out of nowhere, and it's hard in a year when everybody's 23 years old. All of these dudes have played a bunch of basketball. Like, how many times have Caleb Love could kill Duke again, right? And like this is a guy that would have packed his bags a while ago. You can maybe say, well, that's NIL right there, but he's at Arizona and he came from a high level program. Like, I think what people are mad about is the John L. Davis is getting poached, or is Lamont Butler getting poached. That's good for the kid. It's ultimately, like, as you said, we have 16 of the best teams in the country left. Normally it's like, okay, we got 12. Let's see how long this thing lasts.
The St. Peter's team, the 15, everybody loved that story, right? Okay. It was fun. I was into it. They beat Kentucky, which was hilarious. Then they beat Murray State again, who beat, San Francisco. All right, 7 versus 10 classic. St. Mary's wins that game. Then they beat Purdue, which was like, whoa. Then they faced North Carolina in the Elite Eight, Tyson, and they lost by 20. So it was like, and that game wasn't close. So it's like, all right, yeah, you kind of run out of steam there. And we fondly remember the VCUs, the George Masons, and whoever. We're talking about the Oakland team last year. Like, wow, what's Cinderella? They won one freaking game. How many times have we seen tournament teams win one game and they run into a juggernaut the next one because they're outmatched and they got to turn around and do it again, and they don't shoot from 3 like the way before? We actually are sitting here. We have a unique opportunity here. People are complaining about the best teams being this thing. Are you kidding me? I remember Tyson like, oh, well, these games suck when you get to like the later rounds. It's like, yeah, because you're rooting against Duke, you're rooting against North Carolina, you're rooting against these faces of college basketball, the blue bloods. Now they're not in there. You're like, oh, well, these games aren't very good. I'm like, yeah, because the best teams aren't in it. We have it this year. That's not ruined March Madness. In fact, this is what I want going forward. I love Cinderellas. They're great. You root for them, right? You can't help it. You like to root for the underdog. It's the human nature. But then in the back of my mind, as a rational person, as a person who watches this tournament every year, watches college basketball, and actually doesn't jump in to the March Madness tournament, and if that's you, that's fine. But the pundits are coming out and saying, oh, everything, this sucks now. Because you watch 2 weeks of college basketball? No. Everybody who watches the sport was like, yeah, this is probably going to be pretty chalky this year. And Tyson and I had a reaction when the bracket came out. We're like, oh, maybe. And then we did our actual preview. We're like, chalk. Yeah. These teams are way better. And that's the reality. And that's this year. Next year could be different. Once these COVID years are up, and put it this way too, Tyson, I'm not so sure NIL is going to hurt the mid-majors going forward. What's to say that the freshman kids that go here and there, somebody pays them $5 million for this rev share? Oh, I want to go play immediately. Like we saw with Rutgers, didn't really work out for them. But let's say they go to a mid-major, dominate that conference, they win 2 games, they're in the Sweet 16. That's something different now. I mean, we're just putting, or not we, but people are just putting their stamp and trying to claim things before it's even happened. It's ridiculous.
I mean, I love the upset, but I'm lying if I didn't want Michigan State to pull away from Bryant because I want to see them play Auburn. Or I'm lying if I didn't want Alabama to pull away against Robert Morris. That one was a little closer. I was kind of hoping that Robert Morris pulled that off, but it's like I want that Bama BYU matchup. Like this is what we get now.
Yeah, so it'll be good going forward. Tyson and I had to get this off our chest. We want to take a look at this. We saw it running rampant online, and I think, I don't even know what ESPN was saying or what they were peddling. They're probably talking about some nonsense.
Brawny.
But we wanted to get this out. We will have game previews. We're going to break down this Elite Sweet 16. Like, we're pumped. We're going to take a look at who we think is going to be in the Elite 8 and then have an opportunity to play in the Final Four. That will be coming out next, so that's why you got to stay subscribed. Smash that like button on the way out if you're watching this. Let us know. Maybe we're idiots. I mean, you let us know in the comments. No, we hate this tournament. We want the upsets. NIL's ruin it. All right, let us know. Give us an argument. Maybe we're the wrong ones here. Share it with a friend. Share it with an enemy. We'll be back later. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.